Hello, thank you again for tuning in. This video is not being made to start a war or anything like that. I'm just simply a man giving my own perspective and thoughts on some things that are troubling me. Zack Snyder has been a prominent filmmaker for many years. He has brought some of the most interesting and potent ideas to life on the big screen, and it's been a privilege to watch them unfold on the big screen. Now, we have all been witness of the extreme divisiveness of his films, but is it a case of fair criticism or is it a case of internet bias? Man of Steel, for example, divided many due to Superman's choice of killing Zod. Or my favorite one is because there's so much quote-unquote destruction occurring, or the movie is too dark and gloomy. But just because Superman chose to kill Zod, or chooses to let Jonathan Kent die, which I might add was at Jonathan Kent's own request, do these critiques make Man of Steel a bad film? You know, I fully respect all comic readers. Being one myself, when we grow attached to these characters, it's completely understandable why some feel the way they do when there are changes in TV or movie adaptation of these characters. So let's talk briefly on Man of Steel. When Clark let Jonathan die, it wasn't because Clark wanted to. It's because Jonathan wanted his son to be safe of the public persecution, you know, that we see Superman endure in Dawn of Justice. Choice being the key word. Clark is at a young age when he's witnessing his father's death. And even in the film, it's in Man of Steel itself, Perry White alludes to the public response with,
"Can you imagine how people on this planet would react if they knew there was someone like this out there?"
You see, people look at things like Jonathan's sacrifice or Superman's decision to snap Zod's neck as quote-unquote not Superman-like or non-heroic. And part of that, to be quite honest, is because the idea of being heroic brings us joy. So because Henry Cavill's Superman is different from, say, Christopher Reeve's Superman or the Kal-El of the comics, it certainly must mean the movie is bad. So instead of saying, well, I dislike Man of Steel because XYZ, we instead get responses such as, Zack Snyder is a hack, Zack Snyder only cares about visuals, Zack Snyder doesn't know anything about comics, etc., etc. And pretty soon, what happens is it becomes a Zack Snyder hate fest. Instead of being open-minded or simply critiquing a film based on our own preferences, we instead get a bunch of fuckery. We have individuals relying on the likes of Rotten Tomatoes and Christopher Stuckman. I want to give a special shout out to Christopher Stuckman. Now, don't get me wrong. A film receiving good or great reviews is always nice, you know? Seeing films succeed is great to see. But with Zack Snyder, it seems he has become a hit or miss among the masses. Me personally, I've been a fan for a very long time. You know, I notice a lot of realism in his films, and visually, they are always on point. But I tend to notice a lot of hate and a lot more extreme derogative remarks aimed at Snyder. You know, I see statements like bleak, joyless, adrenaline junkie, too dark, and so on and so forth. Now, for myself, and this is just me personally again, I don't know how everybody else does it, but for myself, if I don't understand a sequence in a movie or a moment in a movie right away, I try not to waste my time online bitching with statements like, I don't like this person or his movies. You know, instead I try to do the necessary research so I can get a better understanding. So with a movie like Watchmen, for example, the source material is pretty complex. In fact, many of Zack Snyder's own films have complex narratives. And again, for me personally, that is part of my enjoyment of his films. But instead of others doing the aforementioned, we instead have an outcry and sort of rebelliousness towards Zack and his movies. So in retrospect, we get people once again going into his films with the preconceived notion that either A, the movie is gonna suck, or they're going in with the intent of hating the film so that they can once again get online to bitch about it and act as if they know the first thing about filmmaking. But the irony in all this, and what's funny to me, it seems Zack already knows his own public perception is divisive.
People are afraid of what they don't understand.